I've read the comms. Quintus called for this meeting, but he didn't tell the Commonwealth.
What if Fallout's next great war doesn't start because of the Commonwealth's power, but because one man finally stops doubting himself? Fallout Season 2 doesn't scream its tragedy. It whispers it. And by the time you realize what Maximus is becoming, it's already too late. This isn't the rise of a hero. It's the creation of a weapon, and the Brotherhood may not survive it. We're breaking down Maximus, role in Fallout Season 2, Episode 2, and why his unwavering loyalty to Quintus quietly positions him as the most dangerous figure in the Brotherhood of Steel. We'll explore how cold fusion and fusion cores redefine power, how the series subtly reimagines the Commonwealth compared to the games, and why a single, brutal fight marks the point of no return for Maximus. By the end, it becomes clear that this story isn't asking if Maximus will fall, but whether anything can stop him once he does. While much of the Brotherhood at Area 51 is distracted by scavenging, cataloging, and arguing over the mountain of old-world technology stored there, Maximus focuses on something far more consequential: power. Specifically, the cold fusion reactor. On the surface, this looks like a practical decision: restore energy, stabilize the base, keep operations running. But thematically, it tells us everything we need to know about Maximus' mindset. Cold fusion isn't temporary. It's scalable, permanent, and future-proof. Maximus isn't thinking about survival anymore. He's thinking about continuity, about control. That idea is reinforced when he steps away to clean himself and his power armor. The scene isn't framed as downtime. It feels ritualistic. The armor isn't just equipment. It's identity. Maximus isn't preparing for battle. He's reaffirming who he believes he is becoming. And it's in this quiet, controlled moment that Dane approaches him. Their conversation starts on familiar ground. Lucy. Humanity. The emotional thread Maximus keeps trying to tuck away. But it doesn't stay there. The looming council meeting called by Quintus pulls the discussion toward politics and power. Dane raises concerns, subtle ones at first, about Quintus making a move against the Commonwealth. The consequences, Dane suggests, could be catastrophic. And here's where the fault line appears. Maximus doesn't hesitate. He doesn't weigh outcomes or question motives. He commits. Whatever Quintus decides, Maximus is ready to stand beside him. That following someone without question can be a way of avoiding your own fears and insecurities. But Maximus doesn't want introspection. He wants certainty. Quintus offers him that. The conversation can go any further. The Brotherhood chapters from the Grand Canyon, Yosemite, and Coronado. The story from personal doubt to institutional momentum. This isn't just Quintus' ambition anymore. It's becoming a collective event, a reckoning. The council meeting itself collapses almost immediately. The elders don't just disagree with Quintus, they fundamentally reject the premise. Waging war against the Commonwealth for power alone makes no sense to them, especially when the Brotherhood chapters themselves are riddled with ideological differences, old resentments, and incompatible priorities. Unity in that room is a fantasy. And then Quintus does something revealing. He doesn't try to resolve their philosophical disagreements. He doesn't appeal to shared values or Brotherhood tradition. He opens crates of fusion cores. In Fallout, energy has always been destiny. Fusion cores aren't just batteries. They're leverage, military superiority, economic stability, political obedience. By promising the elders an effectively limitless supply, Quintus reframes the conversation instantly. This isn't about belief anymore. It's about advantage. The objections dissolve, not because they've been answered, but because they've been rendered irrelevant. Power once again overrides principle. This moment is critical because it reframes what kind of leader Quintus really is and what kind of follower Maximus is becoming. Quintus doesn't unite people by conviction. He unites them by dependency. And Maximus is watching, learning exactly how authority is manufactured in this world. The series then makes one of its most interesting deviations from Fallout game canon through its depiction of the Commonwealth. In the games, the Commonwealth is a fractured region. a contested territory ruled by rival factions like the Brotherhood of Steel, the Institute, the Minutemen, and the Railroad. Power is decentralized, unstable, and constantly negotiated. But the show strongly implies a very different structure. Here, the Commonwealth appears less like a region and more like a centralized authority, one that allows Brotherhood chapters to govern assigned territories as long as they remain compliant, pay their dues, and stay useful. Autonomy exists, but only within boundaries. Disobedience carries consequences. The series is deliberately vague about the full scope of the Commonwealth's power, and that vagueness matters. It creates the impression of an entity large enough that no single chapter wants to openly defy it. If that interpretation is correct, then Quintus isn't planning a regional conflict. He's provoking an empire, and that makes his promise of endless fusion cores feel less like confidence and more like desperation. Still, Maximus never wavers. Ambiguity doesn't slow him down. If anything, it hardens him. The episode's final act makes that transformation impossible to ignore. A bald knight challenges Maximus to a fight. No power armor, no technological advantage. This isn't Brotherhood protocol, it's personal. The knight wants to overpower the man who killed Moldaver, and he wants to do it with his own hands. For most of the fight, Maximus loses. Badly. He's outmatched, overwhelmed, humiliated, and this matters. Because failure here could have grounded him. Losing would have forced reflection. It could have cracked the armor he's been building around his identity. Then the knife appears. At that moment, the fight crosses a threshold. Whether the killing that follows is technically self-defense or a loss of control is almost beside the point. What matters is how Maximus processes it. He doesn't recoil. He doesn't hesitate. He kills the knight, and in doing so, crosses a line that can't be uncrossed. Until now, Maximus had proven his loyalty to Quintus through sanctioned violence, killing ghouls, enemies, outsiders. This is different. This is fratricide, a Brotherhood knight, killing another Brotherhood knight. Symbolically, it marks the death of restraint. Maximus doesn't just act for Quintus anymore. He internalizes Quintus' worldview. That's why Xander's arrival from the Commonwealth immediately afterward feels so deliberate. Xander doesn't react with shock or condemnation. Instead, he exchanges a look with Maximus, one that reads as recognition, appraisal, interest. This is how larger powers identify useful individuals, not through ideology, but through results. Xander's presence complicates everything. It suggests that the Commonwealth isn't merely an external threat, it's an observer, a manipulator, perhaps even a beneficiary of the chaos Quintus is trying to unleash. Support doesn't always arrive as opposition. Sometimes it arrives as approval. By the end of episode 2, it's clear that Maximus is no longer just a loyal soldier. He's a committed instrument. Killing the knight doesn't feel like a moral collapse to him. It feels like alignment, like clarity. He's removed doubt from the equation, and in Fallout's world, certainty is often more dangerous than malice. If Quintus orders Maximus to lead a war against the Commonwealth, there will be no hesitation. Maximus will step into his power armor and execute that vision without question. Not because he's evil, but because he's emptied himself of alternatives. Loyalty has replaced conscience. Purpose has replaced doubt. And that's where Lucy enters the equation, not as a guaranteed redemption, but as a possibility. She represents the life Maximus could have chosen, the version of himself that still questioned, still hesitated, still cared about consequence. Whether that will be enough to pull him back is the real question Fallout Season 2 is asking. Because Maximus may not just be the Brotherhood's greatest weapon, he may be the reason it tears itself apart. And by the time he realizes that, the damage may already be irreversible.